and welcome to the farm. My name's Jason Jackson, and I'm here with the Poultry Biosecurity YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about medicators. You see, at Southland Organics, we talk to growers from all over the country, and it seems that the Stenner Pump is rapidly becoming the go-to pump that growers like to use. It's simple, it's easy to use, there's very few moving parts. If anything does mess up on it, it's pretty easy and fairly inexpensive to repair. So today I want to give you a few tips that we've picked up on that can help make your life a little bit better on the farm if you use these Stenner pumps. If you come in one day and realize that your pump is not doing what it should, maybe it's dripping some stuff out the bottom, there's a good chance that one of these suction tubes have sprung a leak. Most of you that have had Stenner pumps for any length of time have figured that out. And these are slightly costly, so I'd like to give you a tip to help prolong the life of these things. If you will make certain that you don't run these dry, once the medicator bucket empties out, if you'll come in and turn that thing off fairly soon thereafter, you may extend the life of these quite a bit. See, here on this farm, we have some of these that have been in service for over 2 years. Now, we've also had some that didn't make it, but just, 4 or 5 flocks too, and they can be expensive, but in general, if you'll make sure that you turn it off just as soon as it runs empty, you don't let it sit there and run dry overnight, it'll extend the life of these quite a bit. There's only just a handful of other things with these pumps that tends to go bad. One of the things is the check valve. I've noticed that people buy the entire check valve when you could just simply be replacing what they call the duck bill. It's a small rubber piece that goes inside the check valve, and it's about a fraction of the price of the whole entire valve. So that's another tip. Check with your supply house. If you can't get it from them, you can contact Stenner directly and buy parts from them. Our Big Old Bird product is set to be run through a medicator at a 1 to 128. That means 1 ounce for every 128 ounces, or 1 gallon, that goes through your drinker lines into the house. Well, the beauty of the Stenner pump is it's set up to pump 1 ounce for every gallon that goes through the house. But it does have a few other settings on there that seem to be making some confusion for people. And I'd like to show you some of those things and explain a little bit about that. So I've got a pump here that's not connected. On the side of it, I know it's probably not really easy to see, but there's a knob, and most of you that already have one are familiar with this. When the knob is in the down position, it's called standby, which we would commonly consider to be off. When you first click it on, it goes into prime. Then the first setting up, it says on there 10 ppg. Now what that means is 10 pulses per gallon. If your actual meter in the house pulses 10 times for every gallon that goes through, this would be the setting that you would use. The next setting up is 1 ppl, or 1 pulse per liter. If your meters are in liters and pulse 1 time for every liter that goes through, this is the setting that you use. That's not very common in the States. And then wide open is 1 pulse per gallon, or 1 ppg. Now the pulse per gallon, that indicates if you have a 1 pulse per gallon meter, every gallon that flows through the meter, it pulses 1 time. It sends a pulse to your controller, and it sends a pulse to this. This should run and pump 1 ounce for every pulse. Now, this is where the confusion happens. If you happen to have the 10 pulse per gallon meter and you set it on the 1 pulse per gallon or wide open, you're actually pumping a lot more fluid. You're pumping 10 ounces for every gallon that flows through, and that can be a problem. So make sure you figure out what your meter is. If it is a 10 pulse per gallon meter, then you need to make sure and use the proper setting here. The last thing I'd like to show you is we have sometimes problems with our pump priming. When you first turn it on and it comes to the prime setting, well, it runs, and as it runs, it's supposed to prime. Every now and then we find that the pumps don't like to prime, so we've found a solution that seems to help really well with that. And it's a common veterinary syringe with no needle on it. You can buy these at your Tractor Supply, your local veterinary supply place, or sometimes you can find them at any feed store, because they're very common. And these syringes can fit right onto the end of the tube, and it seems to work out just perfect. So as it's priming, when it's running, you can just add a little bit of suction to it, and that extra amount of suction will pull it on through and make it prime. It helps to allow the medicator to prime if you're having trouble with it. And then once it gets primed, you simply screw it back in and are done with it. This is Jason Jackson. This is the Southland Organics Poultry Biosecurity YouTube channel. We hope this is the best plot that you ever have. Thank you.